So we're back here with our O, and really we've been designing these two things in isolation at the moment, but we really need to be looking at them in context in a space center. So now that we have some glyphs in a space center, we can get a better view of what's going on here. So we have, if I just type N, it's going to pre-fill with this these options that are that come with RoboFont. We have like the uppercase, the lowercase, the uppercase in this string that is NNOO. And this little special character here, this question mark, is denoting the current glyph that you're on. So if I were to go up here and go back to the N, you can see that in the Space Center it changes. So there are a few options for looking at changing your view of the Space Center. The first one is obvious. You can change the size of your font in the Space Center. You should be really looking in Space Center at your font, the size that you think your font is going to be used at, because certain things they will influence your decisions based on how small or big something is. The next drop down is foreground or background. You almost always want to be in the foreground. If things are looking a little bit strange, it might be because you're in the background there. And then we have this little ... menu, which has a few options for changing the view. Right now we're in the multi-line view. We can add more lines by typing \n. That will give you a new line, and then space, and we only have N and O right now, so you can add more lines by typing \n, which is short for new line. There is a single line view, which does not allow for those new lines. Basically, that's the only difference. There's a waterfall view that shows you multiple sizes, and that could be helpful to look at sometimes. Sometimes it's too busy. There's a cutoff view, sometimes helpful for spacing. And you can also change, invert it, black on white, white on black. You can show metrics, which is this little line down here. I find that kind of gets in the way of looking at the shapes of it. I tend to like to make sure it's centered and multi-line, just because I like to have things centered over the drawing that I'm making. And then there's other options for showing other parts of your design. There's adjustments to line space and tracking. You should probably not touch the tracking, because you might accidentally touch it and then suddenly you're thinking that your font is wider than it is or something. Down here is an area called the space matrix, which is very sci-fi, but essentially it is showing all the glyphs that are up here, but also showing their widths and their side bearings. Up here, once we start having glyphs with alternates, the suffixes of those glyphs will show up here. Things like .alt, .sso1, etc. And one of the most helpful tools for working with italics is the beam tool. The beam tool is a line that will show you the measurement at that specific point, and not just what the raw side bearing setting is. So if I were to move the beam up and down, you can see specifically on the O, the number changing. Typically you want that to be at like half of your X height for working with italics. But the back to the basics of it, we have our Space Center here. We can now see how well we've proportioned our typeface, and really, if you want to learn more about spacing and how to do spacing the right way, James has a course on that in Ono Type School, so I'm not going to go over too much of that, but the mechanics of it are you can edit the numbers down here. You can see that the O numbers are not symmetrical, so they should probably be symmetrical. Let's make them something like, I don't know, 50 each. So we type 50, and if I hit tab, it will go to the next item to the left, to the right. So if I type shift tab, or it will go to the left. If I type option tab, it will go down. So I'm going to make that 50 as well. You can also edit the side bearings here, the inspector. And so we really want to look at proportions of the O versus the N, and the N is looking a little bit wide to me. I don't like how wide it is, and the O is looking a little bit dark, I guess. So if I wanted to go back to the N, I could double click on the N and edit this. I could do something like grab these and move them, but that kind of messes up this curve here. I could also grab this, press the transform button, and scale it that way. And then I would need to adjust the weight of this, so I'll use my measure tool again. Making sure that the weight remains the same. You know, this is just fast and loose, so we're just, you know, not making high art here, but it's manageable. So now we can focus on the weight of the O. So there's many ways for me to get back to the O. I could do the key command that I have for the next glyph, or I can type the key command J and type in O, and that will take me to the O. Or I can even hit Shift J, and that will jump me back to the previous glyph that I was on. All those are good options for maneuvering around your character set. So I'm going to draw my little measurement tool here. You can see that when I was scaling, a certain rounding thing happened where one of these got different than the other. I'm going to use my hold down Option and then drag to get my vertical measurement. So that's about 84. I didn't hit the marks entirely, but it's about 84. That's interesting. So I'm going to jump back to the N, hold down Option, so that's about 78, 79. So we can move this, but I also want to move these control points, so I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to hold down Option Shift and drag over those, bring those up a little bit. So Option Shift and Shift, let's make that 80, I guess. That's looking slightly better, but I guess I could make the O slightly wider. So I'm going to select it all, press T for transformation, and then hold down the Option and hold down Shift to just get a little bit more width on it. you can see it live or close to live down there. You can see that the stem weight kind of got out of whack. We wanted it to be 86. And yeah, so now that things are looking about right, we're going to make this 44, I suppose. Now that we're looking at the N and O in context, the right side of the right side of the N looks a little bit gappy, so let's bring that in. We can select the number down here, hold down Shift, and bring it in by 10. And then just use the down arrows to move it in a little bit. It should probably be less than the number that's on the left side of it. It's just how ends work. Anyway, 64. Let's say 64. All right. So we've drawn an O, drawn an N. Next, we are going to look a little bit more into how we can bring in some extra stuff from outside of RoboFont in the starting stages of drawing, like images, reference images, bringing things in from Illustrator, etc. So see you there.